work to get them to laugh. So let's see how well I can do with you. My grandmother was one of those ones that said, granddaughter, you shouldn't do this. And she would tell you why. And if you took it upon yourself to do it, be it upon your head. That's the way she taught. Also, I delivered my first baby with her when I was 11. My first cat with her when I was 13. And I learned how to cure almost anything off of the fruits of the earth from the Cherokee Nation. Some of the stories in here are sad. I learned from my great-grandmother about the Trail of Tears. And I still have a piece of a pouch that one of my ancestors actually wore in the Trail of Tears. And I also have a bowed bead necklace that, if you were to stretch it out, would go around this building a couple of times. Made out of buffalo bone, and they're real tiny. And I just wonder, I just think of, every time I handle it and touch it, how many women spent how many years making those little bones to be beads to fit on that necklace. And that necklace is only worn in honor. And I've only worn it once, and that was when my grandmother died. It's still in the same box she gave it to me on when I was 13. This book takes place from about, I'm probably 6 to probably 15. And my brother, who was 3 years younger than I, is in the book too. And I know for a fact that he was the one that suggested some of the things we did because I'm too smart to have suggested any of this stuff we did. So I know he had to do a lot of it. I'm really amazed, and I told students yesterday that we survived our childhood, but we really did. It's amazing. I thought I would read to you 2 stories that have also been published in other things now. One is called Noodling, and in case if you don't know what noodling in Oklahoma is when you put your hand under in a stream and you kind of cast about, you whip your fingers into the rock and you grab the fish and yank it out. You ever seen that? Not a good thing to do. No, not a good thing. But anyway, and the other one I'd like to read you is my frog story. My grandmother had a comfort food, frog legs. I always thought it was mac and cheese. That's what I told her, but no, frog legs were served. That's what we did. So I'll read you those 2, and then you can tell me what you think. I should have opened the book already so you know what page it's on. I'll just tell you the story. I think I don't know. When I was about 8, and my brother was about 5 or 6, we lived down by Pasco, Oklahoma, down by a little creek called Bird Creek. And if you don't know, Cherokee's got an allotment of land and mules, unlike those age who lived there, who got oil. They're very rich. Well, we have head rights, and they have, head rights too. But our head rights is a lot of joy out of the creek. I learned a lot from that creek. So one time we went to a fish fry, and I said to Grandma, man, how'd that guy catch that big fish like this? Eesh. And he said, I noodled for it. And I said, I don't know how you could catch a fish with a noodle. And the guy says, oh no, it's not a noodle. You go into the stream, and you just reach under the rock and just grab it, pull it out. I said, I could do that. Now keep in mind, I was about this tall, about so big. Brother's about so big. And my grandmother was almost down to there, but she wasn't. She was about here. She was a short little lady. So I said to Grandma, why don't we go down to the creek and why don't we do some noodling? And she goes, granddaughter, this is not a good idea. Oh no, we can do it. I know we can. And my brother says, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Yeah. So we went down to the creek one time, and she said, okay, I can't swim, so this is what we're going to do. What you do is you wade into the creek and you get a stance. Get a good stance on that slippery, slimy rocks. And after I'd followed about 5 times, I got a good stance. And she says, what you do, granddaughter, is you put your hand under the rocks and you feel and see if you feel anything. If you feel anything, you grab it and you yank it, pull it up. I said, I can do that. So my brother and I assumed the stance, and we waited, and it got hotter. The flies were biting me, and I thought, I can do this. So I moved on a little way, and I fell about 3 times on the slippery rocks, and my brother was over there assuming the stance, and he was falling about 3 or 4 times. I thought, I'm not not going to do this anymore. I can't win. So I went over onto this long ledge, and if you look at Bird Creek down from the bridge, which overlooks our allotment of land, there's a little ledge that kind of juts out, and you can't really see it unless you're right on top of it. So I went under there, and I assumed the stance, and I put my hand under there, and I went, oh, something moved. And I thought, I'm going to catch a fish. So I moved my hand a little more, and bam! Something grabbed onto my hand. It felt like a bear trap. I couldn't get my hand out from under the ledge, and I started screaming. And my grandmother wades across the water. She's a tiny little lady. And she goes, what's wrong? And I said, there's something on my hand. I can't get my hand out. So I'm going back and forth screaming and trying to get my hand out, and she grabs me, and she's a tiny little thing, and my brother, who's even tinier, grabbed her, and they all pulled, and we all fell flat down into the water. And in the meantime, my hand, I know, is going to be gone by the time I get it up, and that's what I ride with, too. And I thought, it's bad, I'm never going to ride again. That's what I was thinking. About that time, Grandma grabbed me by the arm and yanked me out, and out came with that a catfish about that long. Now, keep in mind, that was as big as me. Now, catfish, I never thought had teeth. Yes, they do. They do have teeth. They may be little bitty teeth, but they sure can clamp. So there I go. I fall out and land on the water, and I had this big catfish still clamped on my hand, just like a vice grip. And my brother's just kind of wandering around on the shore going, help her, help her, help her. And my grandmother comes over and says, now, granddaughter, hold still. I have this big branch. I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to whack it over the head and kill it. I said, okay, quick, quick. I was hammering with a rock, trying to get it off my hand, screaming and hollering. And so she comes over, and she takes a big swing, and she whacks that fish, and it's a rotten branch. It just breaks in half. And then she gets mad. My grandmother, when she got mad, little Cherokee woman, she'd say, you heifer. And when she called you heifer, you better move. So I knew that fish was doomed, or I was. She came over and she grabbed the gills of that fish, and she yanked it so hard, she flew about 6 feet and looks like a skipped rock, just kind of bounced. And landed in this big, deep pile, and it popped right back up, and there she had that fish on her hand, and I thought, she kept the fish, yes, that's wonderful. So anyway, she grabs me by the neck, and she grabs my brother by the ear, and she has this fish in the hand. She kind of toes us out, and I get to the shore, and I notice my hand is kind of funny looking. It's kind of, the fingers are like, back like this, and it started to hurt. I went, oh, and I said, Grandma, I think my hand is like bent. And she says, it's broken. I went, it's broken? Oh, no. So I'm holding my hand like this, and she gets a big rock, and she whacks that fish, and kills it right there. She says, it's not going to get away now. So we go up to the house, and she's a healer, of course, so she splints my fingers, and she gives me some valerian root, and in case you don't know what that is, it knocks you out pretty cold. I woke up about 8 o'clock, and she says, it's time to eat, granddaughter. And I thought, well, I better not say much about my hand, because I did do it, and she told me not to. So I walked in, and there's old Grumpy. She fried him up in lard. We had commodities back then, and they gave us old bricks of lard like this. We chopped that lard up, and we just deep fried those fish. Oh, best tasting fish, my arteries hardened, as I tell you about it. And we had cornbread and real butter, and we had just feasted on that fish that night. And the next day she says, now, grandchildren, would you like to go noodling again? We both said no. We learned, because you know what you get back is these noodles for your hand. That's one of the ways she taught me. If she tells you something to do it, you better do it. That's the way you learn. Another thing that happened to me when we were little is we did a lot of running around picking herbs. She'd say, granddaughter, did you hear it? This is for childbirthing. It stops the bleeding. And she'd say, this is bloodroot. This is hogswort. This is curd lamb dock. This is what you use for different kinds of things. And she would teach me how to use it in the healing ways. Like, for instance, willow bark. Probably didn't know that's what aspirin's made out of. Well, that was one of the first things the Indians used it for, is for fever. So anyway, I would go, and I would pull the bag with me, and she'd, have a digging stick, and we'd dig and dig and everything. One time she had me out picking dandelions. just the little yellow tops. And I said to Grandmother, you know, my parents go to a whole lot of trouble here with these. And she says, well, I don't. It's good medicine. I want you to go out there and pick just the little yellow parts. I don't want anything else. I don't want the leaves, the stems, or the roots. I've got to have just the little yellow parts. So I did. It was about 104 in the shade in Oklahoma. If you've ever been there, it's hot. And I got a whole tub full. Have you ever seen those little wash tubs you used to take a bath in when you were just a kid? If you're old enough, you know what I mean. And I filled up a whole tub of those little dandelions. Took them in, and she was, good start. And I went, good start. I was pooped, and it was hot. And I said, what are you going to use this for? And she says, well, this is for my medicinal wine. Well, that's how I came to know that dandelions can be made into a wine. So she favored colored glasses when she made her cures and her medicines because light lots of times would dilute it. So she put it in a big pot, and what I mean by big pot, we had cast iron pots, and we had wood burning stoves, and the big thing on the stove. And it was hot in there, and we put the wood in, and we dumped all the dandelions in. She boiled it for about, 4 hours, and then she took it out and she strained it with a cloth, kind of like a cheesecloth, put it in a big old crock of clay, and just let it set like 4 or 5 hours. I said, what are you doing now, Grandma? She says, I'm letting it set. Well, she was one of the few words. I don't ask anymore. That's all she's going to tell you. So anyway, she takes it out for a couple hours, and she has yeast, and she has raisins from the commodities, and oranges. You can use the peel, but you can't use the white part of the orange, nor the orange itself, because it would sour the wine. So she puts it in there, and it gets hot again, and she puts it in bottles. Well, the bottles are interesting. I don't know if you remember what they look like way back. But mason jars are round. Well, they used to make bottled mason jars. They kind of tapered to the top where you could put a cork in the top. Okay. So we had pink and green and blue. My brother and I collected all over the neighborhood. And she put them in there and she let it cool off. We put a cork in and she put wire around it. Well, one time she left and Mike and I thought, you know, we should try this and see what it tastes like. Because we never tried any dandelion wine. I tried a lot of her stuff just to see what it tasted like. Most of it wasn't very good. It didn't taste good. But we thought the wine must be good because we noticed when people came over and they thanked her. They drank it. You know, they were really nice people. And so what we did was we got one of those ice picks and poured the hole in the cork so she'd never know. We poured it in. Remember those jelly jar glasses you used to get for jelly? And that's what we always had. And we poured it in about a teaspoon each glass. Well, I took a sip, and he took a sip, and we went all over, because that just tasted the worst stuff I've ever had in my life. But, not to be deterred, sacrifices had to be made. This was an experiment after all. We decided we'd just try a little more, because we'd heard people say the more you drink, a little better it gets. So I tried a little more, and he tried a little more, and sure enough, it started tasting pretty good. So before long, we knocked back a couple of those glasses, and you know what? Everything was funny. We think about the dead dog in the road. We go, dead dog, that's funny. We talk about, you know, the well is poison. That's really funny. And then we tried to stand up, and the porch was kind of slanted. And we'd stand up, and we just kind of like moved over down toward the door. Well, before long, Grandma comes back, and we knew our goose was cooked, because we're not supposed to be playing with stuff anyway, and now we're drinking. And we try to get up, and everything is funny. We try to get up, and we just wobble, and we try not to laugh, and we start to laugh again. So she caught us drinking the dandelion wine. Didn't say a word. Said, you guys can go to bed now. So we went to bed. I had never slept so good in my entire life. That was the best sleep I've ever had. But the dawn came through that window in my bedroom, and I had the worst headache I have ever had in my life, and I felt sick. Went around to see how my brother was doing. He was in the bathroom throwing up in the toilet, and he said, I think I'm going to die. And I said, no, I feel pretty bad too. And so Grandma came in and she says, now you know why I told you not to drink. And because he said, it'll make you sick and it's not good for you. You know what? I have no tolerance to alcohol, and that's how I found out. I don't drink alcohol much anymore because so I told Grandma, I don't think I'll ever be doing this again. She says, I didn't think you would. It's a good way to learn. And that's how she taught us. The other story